What's going on, College Hoops heads? This is another live stream episode, whatever we want to call it, on the Center Hub's YouTube channel and Twitter page. My name is Steven Bagell. I am joined by Conrad Pascual. You guys know him. You guys love him. You guys love his hair. Every time someone mentions Conrad to me, I feel something like his hair. So here he is, his full head of hair.
I know.
Conrad, how are you doing? I see you wearing a 49ers sweatshirt. How are you doing today?
Not going to lie, right? My mood when we do these live streams is directly proportional to the success of, my home team. So obviously, right, the Niners got to win, still in that playoff hunt. Same with your Birds, right? So
the Birds have a much easier path than the Niners do just because of the division they play in, of course.
Oh, I know. I don't know. We'll see. It's probably a wild card entry for the Niners, but hey, right, 5th seed's better than 7th seed, I think. So,
So we are here again, our weekly Sunday night live stream to talk college basketball, the week that was and the week that it will be.
All right.
I believe we're on we just had week 6 of the college basketball season already, and we're going into week 7.
That's right.
This was a little bit slow of a week. Obviously, yesterday we had a phenomenal slate of games. I believe it was John Rothstein. Did you see that tweet, Conrad, that John Rothstein had? I think it was on Friday.
Which one?
Okay. John Rothstein being John Rothstein. My wife and 2-year-old have multiple birthday parties to attend tomorrow, but I'm not going to any. Birthday parties come and go. The chance to watch a full day of Quad 1 opportunities are few and far between. So John Rothstein is skipping all his 2-year-old's friends' birthday parties to watch Quad 1 games. And honestly, with how good his slate of games was yesterday, my background's a little crazy right now. Can't say I blame him.
Your background is in black and you're wearing a black shirt. So, you are truly blending in. But yeah, hey, right? 2-year-olds won't really remember their birthday party, But John Rothstein and a lot of us Hoops junkies, we will remember yesterday's slate of games. So
to be fair, I don't think it was John Rothstein's 2-year-old's birthday party.
Exactly. So all the more, I think he feels he should be justified,
So anyway, before we get started, as you guys see on the bottom of the screen, use code ONEANDDONE for $30 off CBB Analytics. That could be either a free month or 30 days off a year-long subscription. Go check them out. Highly resourceful for us while putting out these options for any college basketball fan, analyst, whoever you may be in the college basketball space. I'm going to take my background off. This is a disaster. Whoever you may be, I highly recommend checking it out. Meanwhile, I'm going to move so I can turn my background off. But Conrad, the first team I want to talk about real quick. Have you had the chance to watch much Nebraska ball?
Nebraska?
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. They're 11-0. They were ranked 23rd in the AP poll going into this week. They had wins over Illinois and
Wisconsin this past week.
Second win too. Illinois and Wisconsin. Those are 2 good wins. Obviously, Illinois is the better of the 2, but either way, what's the Big Mass obviously out for the year last year? Now he's back. And the fun part about Nebraska for storyline this year is they haven't won an NCAA tournament game yet. Ever.
Yeah.
So this looks like the year they might be able to get that done. What's your overall thoughts on Nebraska ball as I'm going to move and set up in the other room?
Obviously, right? You can't talk about Nebraska without talking about Price Sanford. Dude has been hot. He's scorching the nets from deep. All things considered, I'm really impressed though with just the balance that they play with. In the sense that, right, they're not necessarily taking an overwhelming amount of 3-pointers, but they do a really good job of kind of leveraging the threat, of kind of pulling up or kind of leveraging the threat of quick shots off of split action and everything like that. So Their execution, both in the half court and in like the open court has been pretty impressive. Because yeah, I mean it's just a very fundamental, very I wouldn't say methodical. I mean I think they do have a very free flowing approach, but it's not like they're spamming any one action. You know, I mean I know there are a lot of like teams that can basically essentially win just by forcing turnovers and getting like, quick points on like transition or fast break. They don't necessarily do that, Like I said, it's just been a very well-balanced attack through these first 11 games.
So what I will say about Nebraska, also fun fact, not only have they now won an NCAA tournament, look, now I look like I'm in a jail cell, but anyway,
More like
they
a
have the nation's
questioning
longest
room,
winning streak. That's fine. Oh, you're
Yeah.
interrogating me. As long as you read me my Miranda rights, we'll be good. Nation's longest winning streak at 15 games, because going back to when they won the college basketball crown last year in Las Vegas. So that's a fun aspect, other than the fact that they haven't won any NCAA tournament games. As I pull up my show notes, I apologize to everyone watching. I've been having technical difficulties with my computer, so I'm on a different computer than I typically am. Conrad, here's another question for you.
Yeah.
There are the top 4 teams in the country in this week's AP poll: Michigan, Arizona, Duke, and Iowa State.
Right.
Duke had off this week. Iowa State beat Iowa, and they just beat the crap out of Eastern Illinois today. And then, obviously, Michigan had wins over Villanova, I think 23, 25, 26-point win. They had 6 straight wins of 25-plus points or more against, basically all power conference opponents, which is impressive. And then Arizona obviously beat Alabama last night on a neutral.
Yeah.
Who is, as of right now, in your opinion, the best team in the country?
Man, if you had asked me this last night or yesterday morning before yesterday's slate of games, I probably would have said Michigan.
Yeah, so would I.
Probably because I think Michigan is the most well-balanced team, right? I mean, it seems like they just have, if you're just talking about, you see their record and you look at the team, they have the personnel where they can basically kind of have the appropriate combination of players to match up with whatever look, the opposition presents them. But I don't know, man. After last night, talk about recency bias. After last night, it's hard to argue with Arizona's number 1 ranking right now. Because again, they may not have the ability to be as versatile as some of the teams behind them in the rankings. But I mean, the way that they play, especially defensively, all 5 guys, at the very least, they're starters. All 5 guys can defend their position straight up. They don't need to switch. They switch for the right reasons, right? Which is because they can suffocate you, not because they're trying to make up for any one defensive liability. I mean, yesterday, especially their guards too. And so, even shout out to the young guys, like Braden Burries, right? They're getting after it. So I want to say Michigan, but right now it's hard. It's hard to disagree with Arizona being number 1.
So Michigan, the last 6 games, they beat San Diego State by 40. We know that was in the Players era. Followed by Auburn by 30 and Gonzaga by 40, 3 straight days. Yeah. We know what they did in the Players era. Then they beat Rutgers by 41, Villanova by 28, and now they beat Maryland yesterday at Maryland by 18. So, they're also, just, for lack of a better term, steamrolling teams.
Yeah.
That's not to say Arizona isn't deserving of the number 1 spot as well. Arizona beat Alabama yesterday, and basically what was a semi-away game for them by 21. They beat Auburn by 29 in the last 2. Before that, Norfolk State and Denver, they beat by 27-30 respectively. Before that, wins over UConn, UCLA, and then we know they have a win over Florida early in the year. All these teams' resumes, and even if you include Duke, their resumes are incredibly impressive. Iowa State, we know, won at Purdue by 25. it's been such a treat seeing those 4 teams, in addition to like Gonzaga's only losses, that 40-point loss to Michigan. They're incredibly good. Purdue's only losses to Iowa State. UConn's only losses to Arizona. Like, those are probably the 7 best teams in the country. Houston is probably number 8, I would say. That's probably how I'm going to rank them in my weekly top 75 piece. Houston being 8th, and even their only losses to Tennessee. Vanderbilt's 10-0, Nebraska's 11-0. Like, it's been such a treat. Like, I know a lot of people are talking about substantially about I just lost my train of thought. Oh, I got it. About like the transfer portal ruining like mid-majors and March Madness, Cinderellas, all that. But with how good the top, like I'd say 12 to 15 teams in the country are right now, how can you not love what the product college basketball is giving right now?
I mean, I was actually having that discussion the other day, actually in terms of with the angle of like, how does the transfer portal affect the men's game versus the women's game? I would actually say for the men's game, it's been, relatively speaking, a positive. I mean, if you just look at the last couple of tournaments, right? Mid-majors who have kind of built their way through like kind of maintaining the middle of their rosters from like the previous years and kind of adding some either like seniors or, you know, graduate students, you know, through the portal. We've seen a number of mid-majors make very deep runs in the tournament. So I don't know. I feel like for the men's game, the portal kind of still creates some parity. Because, yeah, I mean, I think we are talking about the top of like the AP poll right now and everything like that. But I think the teams even outside of the 25, like just outside the 25, I think, you know, they've been equally impressive and definitely impressive in their own right.
So, okay, I'm just pulling up here. So, okay, we talked about Michigan, talked Illinois. They did lose to Nebraska. They had a win over Ohio State. How about NC State? They lost to Kansas in an overtime game yesterday, but they beat a very, very good Liberty mid-major team by 40. They're incredibly good. New Mexico had a great week. They just beat VCU after, you know, to end last week, beating the crap out of a good Santa Clara team. Eric Olin, I think I saw this as like 35-7 or something like that in his last 40. I forget the exact record. I think Rocco Miller tweeted it. But either way, like Aaron Olin, like Conrad, you know this from being a UC San Diego graduate. Like,
that's right.
Incredibly, incredibly good that team is, that coach is. It's actually giving the Mountain West some hope after getting off to a slow start of the year in New Mexico.
I know. I think once, you know, I think like around, like, I think some of these teams in the Mountain West are kind of getting their act together. Yeah. Now, what does that mean, you know, in terms of like going for a multi-team bid? I don't know. Right. We'll see. But yeah, no, New Mexico has definitely looked good. It's pretty cool. Seeing him being able to kind of incorporate some of the concepts that he ran at UC San Diego, you know, bring them to New Mexico. We had a couple players also that he brought with him to kind of help implement some of that system. But yeah, I mean, I'd say like those first couple games, I mean, like for any team with a new coach, I'm sure there is a feeling out period. But they're definitely picking up steam. And that's what I'm saying, right? Like these are the teams, these mid-major teams outside the top 25. But I mean, as you've kind of already alluded to, like on any given night, any given game, they can be competitive. Like they are right there with some of these top teams.
Jimmy V Classic. That was Tuesday at Madison Square Garden. Clemson was beating BYU in the first game by 21 points at halftime. BYU came back, as we know, Rob Wright hit a ridiculous shot to win it for BYU. Yeah. Followed by UConn over Florida. Florida is now what, 5-4 or 6-4? Either way, they have 4
after last night.
So 6-4.
Yeah.
They had what? They just lost to Duke, like by what? I think 1 or 2 points. They lost to UConn by 4. Like, how concerned are you about Florida? even though like they're staying in these games against some of these top teams that we're alluding to?
Concerned in the sense, with regards to like their chances of being able to defend their title, I would say I'm worried. Like I'm feeling less and less confident with each game that they'll put it together. Now, can they still make the tournament as say like a maybe a top 4 seed in their respective region? I think that's still in play. The SEC, as we'll probably get into it, like I think we knew it wasn't going to be as deep as it was last season because that was just a historically deep SEC. But this year, I think it's definitely weaker than kind of what we expected. The early returns from some of the teams that we thought would really, really be pushing for, not just the SEC title, but again, like a high seed come postseason. These teams have kind of faltered out of the gates. So I do think that they have the ability to kind of right the ship a little bit. But as we've said, I just don't think that they have the personnel, specifically in the backcourt, to be able to be more like dynamic against some of like these top teams, right? Like I think there is a definitive ceiling where I don't think they have that ability to be as explosive, for a game when like we've seen it, right? Like a game where like if like Elliot Cadeau or Shetter is, going off from the arc or being really efficient at the rim, or like a game like last night where like Braden Burries just goes supernova, right? Like I don't think Florida has that ability, right? Like they have to keep games within like a reasonable score. Like they cannot go into a shootout. So yeah, I'm feeling a little bit less confident about them, but I think they'll still be in the mix, if that makes any sense.
So through their first 10 games, they're shooting 26.8% from three.
Yeah.
Which is 352nd in the country out of 365 Division I teams.
Yeah, I mean it's
rough.
It is crazy. It is crazy. Again, we already were kind of, skeptical about the backcourt of Xavier Lee and Boogie Flan. Two good players in their own right, but in order to again, we knew they can't be a carbon copy of Walter Clayton Jr., Elijah Martin, and Will Richard. But, in terms of being able to provide some consistent spacing, they have not done any of that. I mean, I'm happy that Xavier Lee is kind of finding a rhythm. But again, it's just been very awkward at times with both guys kind of, not really finding the ways to kind of find their spots or take their opportunities to attack. So we'll see about that. But yeah, I mean, they're not the only team. Like I said, they're not the only team in the SEC that's kind of leaking oil. So
do you have a team in mind?
What's up?
Do you have a team in mind that you're? I mean, I know the SEC in general, like they're not going to be a 14-bid league again, but is there another team specifically you want to talk about when you
Kentucky?
Oil? Okay,
Kentucky. So, I mean, I think there was a lot of optimism that they could really be contending for the SEC. I'm not going to write them off, but
they did just beat Indiana for what that's worth.
Yeah. And I'm happy. I'm a Jalen Lowe fan. I know he's had a rough start to Kentucky, and that's not through no fault of his own, right? I mean, he got injured late in training camp. He's been in and out of the lineup because of that injury. Very valiant effort from him last night, essentially playing with like one arm, put the team on his back, got them a much needed win. But again, not completely the same problems as Florida, but their backcourt is just not giving them enough, no offense to whatever Colin Chandler and some of the returning players, but they don't have that consistent shot creation, especially off the dribble. So they're not getting any deep paint touches. They have these athletic bigs, but those guys aren't going to be creating for themselves. They need to be set up. So it'll be interesting. I don't think Mark Pope, again, really wanted to go to his freshman this early. like having to give him like both a heavy minutes and a huge responsibility, but I don't think he's getting it from any of his upperclassmen, at least not yet. So that's interesting because again, it really opens the window for other teams in the conference to make a push. And I think some will, or some are capitalizing on that.
Okay, so which teams, while we're on the top of the SEC, before we move on to previewing this upcoming week, which team in the SEC, if Kentucky and Florida are faltering a little bit, I mean, is Vanderbilt the obvious answer in terms of teams that could really, like, capitalize on that?
Oh, absolutely. I'd say Vanderbilt and Arkansas.
Yeah. And Arkansas, we just saw beat a very good Texas Tech team who I had as a preseason Final Four team. They went to the Elite Eight last year, brought a lot back. Like, the fact that Texas Tech was an Elite Eight team last year, and then Christian Anderson, JT Toppin came back, and then Christian Anderson is as good as he's become, shows how dangerous Texas Tech could be when, obviously I know they're off to a slow start right now. LeJean Watts wasn't the Darion Williams replacement that they thought he would be. But even, like, without that, like, I'm still very high on Texas Tech. But, yeah, to preface that, like, Arkansas just beat them the other day, on Saturday.
Yeah. Texas Tech beat, Louisville, late last week. So
no, Arkansas beat Louisville. Did Texas Tech beat Louisville?
No, I'm talking about Arkansas.
Okay, yeah. Arkansas, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, both teams are definitely putting together impressive resumes. But Arkansas, again, it's funny, right? It's like time's a flat circle. Cal, I'm going to a new university. I'm going to change my philosophy. And here we are again, right? Everything is being ran through his true freshman. And it's working. I mean, like, at the end of the day, you got to play the best players. And that's what they've done. And so kudos to them. Acuff, Blake Thomas, Billy Richmond to a lesser extent, but he's been great. So, yeah, but I think that's good. As for Vanderbilt, yeah, they've looked really good. I know, our TCH guy, Sheed and ATL wrote 2 great articles about Vanderbilt. And, the one about David McLaughlin was all accurate, about how, like, this kind of like Swiss Army knife, undersized, big, is truly impacting the game in every facet. And if you watch, like, their recent games, it's like, man, it's exactly what she and ATL was saying, right? Like, one game he may have to be like a 20 plus point game scorer. The other day, it's just like simply, like, not simply, but like it's all rebounding and, defense, maybe like some facilitating on the high post. So, yeah, they are definitely getting it done in a multitude of ways.
And then let me see. I think that's basically everything in this slow week last week. The last thing I'll say, shout out to Hofstra for beating Syracuse yesterday after just beating Pitt. So the 2-0 against ACC teams. Speedy Claxton is super excited about this team. I had a chance to catch up with Speedy at the Cathedral Classic at the Palestra. Well, Hofstra went 3-0, by the way, in 3 days. The defense is literally, like, suffocating. Like, it really is. And Syracuse, Pitt, they caught them off guard. They really did. Yeah. Cruz Davis on Hofstra is a stud. Like, I think he started. I think it was James Barlow actually, like, said, like, this guy's natural NBA draft prospects. Cruz Davis from Hofstra.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm there yet, but I know the guy is a certified baller.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So let me see. I'm trying to pull up. What's Hofstra and Ken Palm right now? They are up to 109 in the CAA. 104th best defense, 127th best offense. On a 3-game win streak, they beat Pitt by 7, they beat Syracuse by 1, and they had a Division II opponent where they won 92-23. They have 23 points. I don't care what division they were in. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, are there any other points you wanted to go over before we
Damn,
move
they're
on to
68th in defensive rating. Damn, that's really good.
Yeah,
That's really good. I mean, like,
especially
dude,
for a CAA team.
yeah. I mean, dang, dude. So, no, I mean, like I said, as you said, I mean, it was a relatively slower week after, like, the SEC ACC Challenge and Feast Week and everything. It's interesting though. I mean, I know some of like the mid majors have begun their conference play.
Yeah.
Um,
So did like the Big Ten has like the 2 games, and they play a couple more non-cons before really getting conference play. Yeah.
Yeah. But before we preview the upcoming week, any kind of observations or anecdotes from the games that you covered this week?
So the only game I had the opportunity to cover this week was Villanova over Pitt yesterday.
Yeah.
Again, Pitt just lost to Hofstra. Like, I don't think they're very good. What I will say is, though, they being Pitt out rebounded Villanova pretty badly. Like, they were just way more physical.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. And I think this Villanova team is a lot more talented than we initially give them credit for to start the year. Like, the way Kevin Willard just has them defending, shooting threes at a high level. And yeah, as I said, like the one thing that really sticks out is the defense for me for Villanova. Like, that's the switchability of that defense. It's literally any given Sunday on a Villanova game. Like they could go in, and if the shots are falling the way they switch, they could probably beat UConn like they did last year on a given night. But I'm sure if it's a night shots aren't falling and the switchability isn't working, they could lose. I don't even want to say Seton Hall, because Seton Hall's not even the bottom barrel team anymore in the Big East. DePaul, maybe. I don't know. But that may be just poor analysis saying it could be any given Sunday. They could beat anyone, lose anyone. But, like, that's really, like, I think they are one of the more maybe versatile and volatile, actually, teams in the country. What I will say, too, is we keep crapping on the Big East because, like, Marquette is not good. They now have a losing record. They're sitting at 5-6. Creighton just lost to Kansas State yesterday. They appear that they're not going to be very good this year.
Yeah.
Andrew and I exchanged Andrew Schaefer, contributor at the Center Hub. Follow him at his new Twitter, Andrew S. Hoops 2. Him and I were talking about our bracketologies because I'm starting to dabble a little bit with like resumes, all that stuff.
Right.
As of now, I still have 5 Big East teams, and Andrew said I was probably pretty spot on with that. So, like, even though we're saying, the Big East with Marquette being bad and Creighton being bad, it's a 1-2-bid league. As of now, with, like, the SEC only maybe having 9 teams in, the Big 10 having 11, Big 12 having 8 or 9, ACC, I think, at 7, with the Mountain West only being a 1-bid league right now, that still gives the Big East 5 teams. It's not the 5 teams we expected. I had yesterday when I did it, UConn, obviously. St. John's I still put in because I think that I was trying to do it a little bit with some projection while also looking at the resumes in front of like what they've already done. So I have UConn, St. John's. I put Villanova in there. They don't have any bad losses and a couple of decent wins. Seton Hall is now 10-1 after almost winning Maui, coming runner-up. The only losses to USC. And Butler just beat Providence in double overtime yesterday. Butler might get in. But I think the issue is outside of those 5, I don't think any other team sniffs it. So if any of those 5 teams falter a little bit down the stretch, it's going to dwindle. So like right now they're 5. Maybe when conference play starts they're 4. Then all of a sudden halfway through conference play there's only 3. And then all of a sudden, if it just ends up being UConn and St. John's or UConn Villanova, it wouldn't be all that shocking with the way the conference is full. But as of now, you need those 5 teams to remain, competitive.
If then, say, for example, right now you have it at 5, conference play starts to dwindle. What other conference is picking up then those bids?
Probably.
Just right now, from what you've seen, I'm curious.
I think the SEC, because right now I do have 9 Big 12 teams in right now.
Okay.
I think that's the high because like Arizona State's playing awesome. I have them in right now. Oklahoma State, I haven't, obviously, based on how they played. I could see a couple of those teams falling off. Well, I don't think like a West Virginia steps up. I don't think a Cincinnati or TCU step up. So, like, I don't see the Big 12 being more than what they're already at.
Okay.
So then it goes down to Big 10, who already have 11 teams in. And I think the SEC will have 9. So, like, could I see Texas? Could I see A&M? Could I see Mississippi State or Missouri? Or who else don't I have in right now? LSU? Like, that Ole Miss? Like, that's probably where they start picking up bids. Like, all of a sudden, Ole Miss knocks off Kentucky or A&M beats Florida. Then all of a sudden, I think that's where those bids come from. And I do think the Big Ten and the SEC will still end up both being at least 10 bid leagues.
I look forward to this. Yeah. I want to see them earn it. So,
Yeah. No, it's weird bracket. I actually was comparing mine to Joe Lenardi, who I've gotten to know pretty well. I cover a lot of St. Joe's games with Joe Lenardi. So I'm just, every time I cover St. Joe's game and meet with Joe Lenardi, always try to pick his brain on 1 or 2 things bracketology related. So that's why I'm starting to, dabble with it a little bit. But I did compare mine to his. I think he has 1 or 2 extra ACC teams than I do. But otherwise, I mean, it's very early in the year, like this very preliminarily, obviously. But I don't think the Big East, I mean, again, they could end up with 3. But right now, I think they have 5 solid teams. The issue is just after that, it's a huge drop-off.
That makes sense.
With Marquette and Creighton being as bad as they are.
Yeah. I like it.
Okay. I'm looking at next week's schedule. Anything you want to cover that from last week before we move on?
No. My Tritons are just moving along, and
Good.
Eric
had another good win against Tulane yesterday.
That was huge. That was crazy, man. Yeah. That's a late game.
Yeah, I admittedly did not stay up.
Yeah,
I fell asleep at halftime of UCLA and Gonzaga.
Even like UCSD's admin was like, "It's cool if you go into sleep." You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But yeah, man, Leo Beath. Shout out to him. He is. I thought he'd be a dark horse for like Big West Player of the Year, but I don't know, right? I thought there was like some other incumbents, but man,
you and Clint Allard both.
Yeah. I mean, no bias. I'm just like, I don't know, dude. But yeah, they're doing well. And again, I look forward to covering St. Mary's this week. They've picked up right where they left off after that last. Well, they've bounced back nicely after falling to Vanderbilt. But
which there's no shame in this year.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, I think the way things are playing out, that loss ages well.
Let me ask you. Yeah. This might sound like a ridiculous question because I'm going to kind of cross-reference leagues here. Does the fact that Vanderbilt immediately becoming a basketball powerhouse after hiring Mark Byington, is that an indictment on an NBA team hiring Jerry Stackhouse as a head coach in the future?
Ooh.
Because like Jerry Stackhouse, when he was the Raptors 905 coach in the G League, he was perceived as the next big. Him and Juwan Howard were both perceived as the next big assistants to become eventually head coaches in the NBA.
Right.
Both former players. Then both of them go to college to coach at Vanderbilt and Michigan, respectively, and both did not have the success they previously had as an assistant coach or a G League coach. So like I'm just so fascinated. If I'm in an NBA front office, I see Stackhouse's G League pedigree, but then I'm like, okay, well, how do I, feel about this guy when the year after he gets fired from Vanderbilt, like they become a basketball powerhouse, like that. It's just an interesting concept I thought about.
I mean, I think, again, as she and ATL pointed out, right? Byington, it's not just coming in with his own coaching philosophy. It was definitely part of his recruiting philosophy. And hey, right. It's not necessarily a copycat league. You kind of learn, from, for lack of a better word, you learn, well, no, not just mistakes. You learn from both the successes and mistakes of your predecessors. So, I mean, I think Byington obviously took a completely different approach than Jerry Stackhouse did in terms of roster building. You're not necessarily recruiting. I mean, you are recruiting, but you're recruiting free agents. You're not recruiting, right? Like high school students or the transfer portal. I mean, I guess, yeah, there is that element of trying to convince a player to come to your team. But I mean, I don't know. I think the NBA just might be like, especially as success, both like, like in the G League. I think there could be something to be said about some coaches just have more success in the pros, right? Where there are less of those elements. It's really just like contract and situation, as opposed to, when you're a student, maybe, the student is still looking for a university that provides a certain program that he wants to study, so I don't know. I still feel optimistic about Jerry Stackhouse, but that's largely because he's currently a Warriors head coach. So I've gotten to see like his work up close, and his work, as like the team's defensive coordinator has been really good. So we'll see, but I think that's actually a really good point, kind of a little thought experiment there, because it's true. Like, you kind of track, right? Like how the trajectory of each of these coaches, right? Given the different circumstances that they're put in.
So Tuesday, there's nothing Monday. I mean, not nothing. Obviously, every college basketball game is, but I'm saying like in terms of coverage, like some of the most interesting matchup, Monday is a slower slate. Tuesday, I think I'm going to be at Ryder in Delaware as I'm crapping on the games on Monday. That's the game I'm covering on Tuesday, which is a little yikes. Louisville at Tennessee, though. That's a great game. Tennessee, as we said, they already beat Houston. I know they have a couple losses. Lost to Kansas. Who else did they lose to? I don't have it in front of me. But I know Tennessee has, they're 7-3. Louisville is, for lack of a better term, very good at basketball. Once again, like it took years.
Astute analysis there.
Right. But like Louisville was bad for such a long time under Kenny Payne. Like it's crazy how quickly Pat Kelsey turned them around, I would say. And like again, it's Louisville, so like that should have been the expectation. But yeah, who do you like in that game between Louisville and Tennessee?
Man, that's a good one.
Louisville's a 1.5 point favorite for what it's worth.
Interesting. And it's at Tennessee. It's in Tennessee. I was actually going to say Tennessee. I know they have like their ups and downs offensively, but defensively, they've been really impressive. Tennessee, that is. And again, being at home, I kind of would give them the edge. I was talking on NBA Draft Happy Hour, talking to, Julian Mendelson and Cam Hickey about Nate Ament. And, again, he kind of is almost like the avatar, the epitome of Tennessee's kind of like offensive fluctuations. But he's also like one of like the most consistent defensive players, right? Kind of like that stabilizing force largely on the defensive end. That's kind of why I think like, okay, like we've seen also Louisville kind of be streaky at times offensively. So that's kind of why I would give like Tennessee the edge, just because again, like I think Rick Barnes definitely has him locked in defensively pretty much for all 40 minutes.
Yeah, and I think Tennessee is one of those teams that plays up to the competition, as we said, they're to beat Houston. So that's why I think, hey, look, we have a chip on our shoulder. This team's ranked ahead of us. Let's go out and, I don't want to say upset because, again, like any game Tennessee wins, I wouldn't call it an upset.
Right.
And it's worth noting Tennessee is on a 3-game losing streak. They lost to Kansas and Vegas at Players Era. They lost at Syracuse. Then they lost on a neutral, which Ken Pumpkins was a semi-home against Illinois. So, like, losing to Kansas and losing to Illinois is fine. I guess, I know Syracuse is also hostile. Like, losing a road game at Syracuse, like, still isn't the biggest deal. But, like, Tennessee cannot afford to go on a 4-game losing streak. Like, they need to find a way to win this game. And that was after they beat Houston. They beat Houston, then immediately lost 3 in a row.
Right.
Okay. They start, well, I guess technically started Big East Conference play with that Providence and Butler game that went in double overtime yesterday. But DePaul's playing at St. John's. I wonder if Andrew's going to that. I'll have to ask him. UConn is playing Butler. That's in Stores. Otherwise, Tuesday doesn't have, those top 25 matchups against each other. South Carolina at Clemson. Clemson has to win that one after losing to BYU. Shout out to Long Island, LIU, who was the favorite to win the NEC, them in Central Connecticut. They're playing at Mississippi State. That's a sneaky, fun game. And, I hope if Riley Frayne is watching, which I hope he is, I'm sure he'll text me right now if he is, because Riley, being a Long Island guy and working for Mid-Major Madness and the Portal Report, loves schools like LIU. So he'll be happy I'm giving them that recognition. Mississippi State is not good this year. I don't know what's different about them compared to last year. Admittedly, I haven't watched much of their games. But with Josh Hubbard, with Chris Jans, I'm usually pretty high on Mississippi State. And I can't figure out what's going wrong with them this year, but I do think LIU could give them, a decent game there. Towson is playing Kansas. Shout out to Nick Timberlake, who's no longer obviously on Kansas, but he was a Towson transfer to play to Kansas.
Nice.
And was awful, if you remember. Nice. He was projected to start for them, and he was awful.
Okay.
And then UC San Diego at LMU, Loyola Marymount. That's a fun one on Tuesday night.
Yes, it is. And not for any biased reasons here. Actually, one that I probably will tune into is Northern Colorado and Texas Tech.
I was going to say that one.
Yeah, Northern Colorado has been low key, really fun.
They're what, 9-1 now, I think?
9-1. I'll admit, right, part of the reason why I've been paid a little bit more attention to them this season is because Ibu Yamazaki transferred there. Mm-hmm. And he was a fun piece for Radford the last 2 years. So he's picked up right where he left off, from last season. But yeah, I mean, they could score. they can score. So it'll be interesting. I mean, obviously, Texas Tech has every right to be favored in that one, but I think it'll probably be a little bit more entertaining than maybe some people expect.
Okay. Then we go to Wednesday, Vanderbilt and Memphis. Again, we already spent a ton of time talking about Vanderbilt. Memphis, very underwhelming this year. Memphis could win that game if, they just get a nuclear shooting performance from, Doug McDaniel, Sincere Parker. But, I mean, again, Vanderbilt's a literal juggernaut, I feel like, this year. Arizona State at UCLA is a really fun one. As I said, Arizona State is, 8-2 now after beating Santa Clara. UCLA is an 8-point favorite. They probably shouldn't be. I know Donovan Dent's playing a little better.
Is he? I mean,
maybe he's not.
I mean, I guess relatively speaking, he's playing better. I don't know. Mick Cronin. I mean, even if he bites his tongue, exactly what he's trying to say. It's been definitely a very disappointing season for Donovan Dent. I know he's never been a prolific 3-point shooter, but to be shooting 7%, that's right, 7 from 3, beyond some of the other things. I don't know. He seems to just kind of not be in a rhythm, to start out the season for this first third or so of the season. So we'll see. Hopefully it picks it up. I mean, Eric Daly has definitely picked up his game, his play as of late. But yeah, kind of an interesting line there.
Creighton at Xavier. Both of those two teams desperately need that game if they want to have any shot in an at-large bid. Both Creighton and Xavier. That's obviously a Big East matchup. Georgetown at Marquette, both also how I said there was 5 teams definitively that have a shot at tournament. Georgetown will probably be the 6 because they got off to a pretty hot start of the year. Georgetown needs to get that road win at Marquette because Marquette's not getting that large bid. So, like, Georgetown needs to find a way to win that game.
Yeah. I agree. The final game of Wednesday night, Portland and Oregon, is kind of interesting. I know we had a lot of optimism for Oregon. It's kind of been rocky. Kind of give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, though, because guys have been in and out of the lineup, especially Jackson Shelstad.
Yeah.
But Portland, I know during our college season preview, who wrote WCC? Was it Riley?
It was Tuck.
He was fairly optimistic about Portland. And, 7-4, but if you watch them, like, again, they have actually been a very competitive outfit. Not particularly great, but consistent. Like in terms of their ratings, they're pretty much dead smack in the middle of D1, both offensively and defensively, but their variance is very low. So that is something, right? In terms of being able to compete, especially on the road.
What about Alabama and USF? South Florida at Alabama is a very fun game. I think USF, like, that offense is so fun to watch. And I think, like, they're going to continue to get better because I know the record isn't, what are they? They are 6-4. The 4 losses, GW, Oklahoma State, VCU, and Colorado State, like, they're not bad losses. They're not going to get in that large bid, but, like, I still think they're the best team in the American. They do have a win over Utah State. They just beat Charleston. They beat Kennesaw State. Like, they actually challenged themselves in the non-conference schedule to give themselves a shot at in that large bid, which, again, they're not going to because they lost a lot of those games. But, like, they're 86 in Ken Palm. I think that's a really fun game. South Florida at Alabama.
Yeah.
North Texas versus Santa Clara as well is a fun one.
Yeah.
That's a neutral, but it's in Santa Cruz. So I guess it's basically a de facto Santa Clara home game.
Oh, it's a Santa Clara home game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Santa Cruz is about, like, from Santa Clara, it's like 30 minutes.
I know, but I know they say it's a neutral site. It's going to be one of the things on Ken Palm where it says, like, semi-home game for Santa Clara.
Yeah. I mean, like, the home fans will make the trip, right? So, I mean.
So, yeah, that pretty much wraps up Wednesday. Thursday is slower. Like, you have some NBC matchups. The Missouri Valley starting to play conference play. Bradley and Indiana State. Drake at Murray State is still the fun one, even though Drake's not as good as they previously have been. Illinois State at Southern Illinois. Temple at Davidson obviously has some appeal to me, being a Temple graduate. But, yeah, there's not too much going on Thursday that I see.
Yeah, agreed.
I think Thursday I'm covering Delaware State at St. Joe's.
Oh, nice.
For what it's worth. And then Friday I'm doing Drexel versus Mount St. Mary's.
Oh, nice. Nice. Friday, I'll be back in Moraga to cover Florida Atlantic versus St. Mary's.
So you'll be covering St. Mary's on Friday. I'll be covering Mount St. Mary's.
Yes. And apparently, right as we were recording, St. Mary's just picked up their second loss of the season.
Who did they lose to?
Boise State by 1.
Boise State, after losing to a D2 school in their season opener, like, they were building a compelling NCAA tournament resume. And I'm going to have to ask Andrew about this. I think on the team sheet for the tournament, they typically drop your worst loss.
I think that's what he told us last time. So, yeah.
So, if I'm not mistaken, like, that's not really going to be held against them. And in terms of the net, that doesn't count as a quad 4 loss because they're D2. So it counts as nothing. So you'll see though. So Boise State, I think, could still has a shot at an at-large. Friday, Villanova versus Wisconsin. It says versus, like, so neutral. It's in Milwaukee, so it gets a home game for Wisconsin.
Okay.
Seton Hall at Providence. Seton Hall needs to win that game if they want to get a shot at it all at large. Belmont at UC Irvine. Another really fun one. Tulsa at Western Kentucky. Seattle versus Washington is fun. I'm still waiting for Washington to get going. As most people know that listen to One Done John, and I love Danny Sprinkle. Like I think he's going to find a way to make it work. And then FAU at St. Mary's, as you alluded to, you'll be covering on Friday.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that. Going back to what you were saying about Washington, I agree. I mean, they're 7-3. You can make an argument it's relatively like a little bit disappointing. You know, maybe they could have been like 8-2. But I think when you watch them, they're another team, as like you said, right? Like you trust Danny Sprinkle is going to figure it out. If we see something, he's probably already seen it as well. Yeah. Like Steinbach is extremely, like he's a very fluid big, right? And I know, again, right, TCH big man guru himself, Julian Mendelson, he said several times, right, that the Washington, they have a hard time. They're very slow to get the ball to him in the post, right? The post entry passes are pretty sloppy, if not, they never happen. I understand why Danny Sprinkle went away, like why he has JJ Mandikit coming off the bench, because I think he wants a little bit more consistent 3-point shooting from his backcourt. But Mandikit is without a doubt, like he is their best like passer, like like table setter. And he and Steinbach have a really good rapport. You kind of saw it these last couple games. To be fair, like the competition wasn't as competitive, but still, I feel like it's just one of those adjustments that's going to occur like over the course of the season, as whatever, like Mandikit, as Danny Sprinkle feels a little bit more confident in Mandikit being able to, play extended run without being like a quote unquote offensive liability, from the perimeter.
Yeah. And like Washington's resume, the 3 losses are at Baylor, neutral against Colorado, home against UCLA. If they had lost at USC, that game where they were down by like 20 at halftime, then I think you're 6-4 and your best win is Nevada. Like all of a sudden, then it's a little murky. But because they got that win against USC, I still think I think they're going to be fine. Yeah,
same.
Okay. Saturday, we have a whole bunch of games. These Saturdays have been great. Saturday, I'm hoping to either cover Duke and Texas Tech at MSG or Houston and Arkansas at Prudential Center in Newark. One game's at 5:30, one game's at 8. I was hoping I was able to do the doubleheader, but like by the time I get out of the press conference, the first is just not really feasible.
Right.
I want to give either one of those games the full coverage it deserves. Nice. So I'm probably going to be in one of those on Saturday. I'm not sure which yet. Kentucky versus St. John's in Atlanta.
That's a big one.
And you also have North Carolina versus Ohio State in Atlanta. That's a doubleheader.
Yeah.
Kentucky and St. John's, like those two teams desperately need that game.
They both need the win. Yeah.
Then obviously we said Arkansas versus Houston, Texas Tech versus Duke, Northwestern versus Butler in Indiana, in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. There was a doubleheader at Gainbridge Fieldhouse that day too. Northwestern, Butler, then Auburn and Purdue.
Yeah.
That's going to be a fun one. Mountain West play gets underway. Utah State plays Colorado State. Nevada plays Boise State. That's a home game for Nevada. Utah State's at home against Colorado State. Stanford versus Colorado in Phoenix. We're hoping Maxwell Geiger's on site for that. He's see with his work schedule.
Right.
But Maxwell's hoping to do the Stanford versus Colorado. And then the other game is San Diego State versus Arizona.
Yeah. Again, we know San Diego State, they don't have the offensive firepower, but this could make for a really cool, defensive masterclass from both teams.
San Diego State needs that win badly too.
They do.
That's a tough ask for them. Obviously, Arizona is ranked number 1 in the country for a reason.
Yeah.
Marquette at Creighton. Honestly, like that game was a lot more appealing during the preseason. Obviously, MAC play gets underway. Sunbelt play gets underway. Marshall at Troy is a super fun Sunbelt game. Liberty at Dayton as well.
Yeah. I'm sure that's one that Matt Kostoff, right, fellow TCH member Matt Kostoff, will definitely be tuning, like very in tune, focused on.
Iona at Vermont, is a fun mid-major game. Mercer at Washington State is pretty fun. I was into Mercer when I was writing the SoCon preview for the magazine, but I still think I undervalue them.
I mean, perhaps. I mean, where'd you have them?
I think I had them 7th out of 10, 11 teams. 7th.
Okay. Maybe.
So that was pretty norm. That honestly might have even been a little high.
Right.
I love teams that just bring in a bunch of high major talent at the mid-major level. And that's what they did. And it's working.
Yeah.
Maryland at Virginia is another game on Saturday that has some appeal. Otherwise, I'm just going through Ken Palm's fan match to see the most compelling games. Penn at Rutgers lost out of luster with Ethan Roberts most likely being out for that game, unfortunately.
Right.
Hopefully the injury he deals with, works out and it's not a doesn't have long-term ramifications, obviously. Montana at Louisville. I just want to see Money Williams cook against that backfield. Or backcourt.
Yeah.
Wrong sport. Backcourt. Loyola Chicago versus Santa Clara did have a lot of luster. And Loyola Chicago just is one of the most... The fact that Loyola Chicago was 309th in Ken Palm is insanity. They started the year in the top 100.
That is crazy, yeah.
That's insane. And let me just go to Sunday. Vanderbilt at Wake Forest. Vanderbilt has a tough week. At Memphis had Wake Forest.
Yeah.
Ole Miss versus NC State. That's in Greensboro, so it's basically a home game for NC State. Cincinnati versus Clemson in Greenville, South Carolina. That's basically a home game for Clemson. Pitt and Penn State. That's in Hershey. I'm not able to go. I was going to, but I have another obligation.
Fair enough.
That's another game. I don't think either of those teams are tournament teams, but they both just for morale, I think both need those wins.
Yeah.
Gonzaga versus Oregon in Portland at the Moda Center. That's basically a home game for Oregon. Mark Few's alma mater. Oregon needs that win. If Oregon, even if they get that win, they're probably not a tournament team right now.
I mean, it'll definitely be their signature win if they can pull it off. Yeah. But they need wins any way they can get them. But yeah, Sunday's slate is kind of not too many, right? Yeah. That have large implications, to anything. We'll see.
Conference USA play does get started, I'll say.
What's that?
Conference USA play gets underway, which obviously has some appeal to me, given I wrote Conference USA for the magazine. Sam Houston State at New Mexico State. I still think New Mexico State is incredibly good. I think they're the third best team in Conference USA behind Liberty and Kennesaw. I think they could be, a March Madness team, depending. I think those three teams are by far the three best teams in Conference USA, especially with how Jacksonville State has fallen off.
Yeah.
UConn at DePaul, obviously Big East game. Like State of Valparaiso. Quinnipiac at Hofstra. I know Riley is going to be at that game. That's a game that would have Riley Flynn written all over it. But otherwise, Norfolk State at UTEP is a fun one. Otherwise, there's not much else Sunday.
Cal and Columbia.
I was just going to say, maybe I missed that one. Yeah. VMI at Radford. VMI, I was super high on going to the offseason. Ricky Bradley still hasn't played a game for them. I'm not sure what's going on with him. But obviously, without him, that changes a lot of VMI's outlook. Radford was one of the favorites in the Big South. They haven't played up to that. And then Kennesaw State versus Alabama is a really fun one as well. As I said, I think Kennesaw State might, with Liberty not playing the best, I think Kennesaw State has a compelling case to be the best team in Conference USA. They're going to play Alabama. Yeah. Shout out to Nate Oates for being willing to schedule mid-majors like USF. I know that's his former assistant. like Kennesaw State, like, just I appreciate it because, like, while some of these other, top programs are scheduling these bye games where they're going to win by 40 to help their metrics, Alabama actually challenges himself with some of these better mid majors, which is fun to see.
Yeah. I mean, again, solidify your resume.
Yeah. Colgate at Florida is one we didn't talk about. Colgate's obviously the cream of the crop in the Patriots.
Yeah. Again, Florida needs it.
Yeah.
They just need wins, period. To really get themselves going.
LaSalle at Michigan, Jesus. LaSalle's bad. Michigan's going to kill them.
Yeah. I think they'll get back on their 20 point margin of victory streak or whatever.
According to KenPom, they're projected to win 90 to 55. That's 35.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah. But, okay. Anything you think we missed? Anything you want to discuss before we sign off?
No, I think that's it. Sunday, actually, I'll probably be potentially playing catch up. Probably going to have to break down this film later because I think I'll potentially be representing the Center Hub, right, at the Invisalign Women's Basketball Classic at the Chase Center. So
yes.
We'll see. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this concludes this live stream. Thank you to everyone for sticking with us, watching, supporting, tuning in. You can follow me on Twitter at @the_NBAGel. That's _NBAGELL. You can follow Conrad at CP3_777. You can follow the Center Hub on all socials at the Center Hub _BB. And you can check us out at the centerhub.substack.com, where Tuesday, Andrew Schaefer and I will be releasing our Last Week in College Basketball article. And then Wednesday, I will be releasing my weekly top 75 piece. So be on the lookout for that and all the other coverage we're doing. And otherwise, myself, Conrad, everyone at the Center Hub, we will talk to you guys next week. Thanks for listening and tuning in and watching.